Yo, what's up guys? It's your boy Looney. Big day in the markets. We had surprising inflation data. We had some AI/cloud earnings and some wild moves with IPOs. And despite mixed signals, the S&P and NASDAQ still closed at record highs. So I'm going to walk you through what dropped today, how the market reacted, and what I'm watching next. But before we get into this video, quick shout out to the Discord. It is free to join, and then I also offer a premium membership that's $8 a month, and that gives you access to one-on-one coaching, trade callouts. I have an option selling course. I do giveaways and more. You can check it out. All the links to that are in the description. But first up is quickly, let's just go over PPI reports that came in for August, and they came in softer than expected, where wholesale inflation actually dropped 0.1% month over month, and this sort of eased some price pressures. With that data in the mix, now investors are persuaded that we are more confident on the Fed decision to cut of at least 25 basis points. And it's very likely right now up to 82 cents. I'm actually invested in this play. I have $1,100, or if I win this trade, I get $1,100. I have $770 locked up with doing this gamble, I would say, on this prediction market or this future. And if they do cut rates on September 17th, then I will get that full pay of $1,100. So I put my money where my mouth is, and I give those call outs to my premium members. And we're going to go over more plays, but right now, the next thing we want to look at is Oracle, because Oracle had earnings, and I do not own any Oracle, and you can see it is showing that it's volatile. That's because it's up 35% and had one of the biggest standouts today, surging, and it's because it announced strong AI or cloud-driven revenue guidance, and this sort of lifted the whole AI and cloud infrastructure sector, like NVIDIA, AMD, Broad.com. They all sort of got helped. And I'm not invested into Oracle, but I think this is really good for the entire market. And we're sort of in that bubble with the AI bubble. That's definitely of concern, but there is no disagreeing that AI is hot, and I would not bet against a hot market. And let's actually look at a play with IPO, and that's Klarna, which also actually is involved with AI, but it's a buy now, pay later company. And I was involved in this IPO. So I requested 100 shares, only got partially filled. I got 19 shares filled on Klarna, and it didn't have a massive move. It jumped around 25% at its peak, or 30% at its peak. So although it did have an IPO and it did go green, it wasn't that return that we were seeing with Circle or Bullish or other IPOs that actually destroyed or that did really well. And you can see here, I made $191 profit, bought it at $40 and sold it at $50. So again, not a crazy profit, but these are the sort of trades that I give to my Discord members. This is another example on a IPO. And I'm doing another IPO on Gemini. This one I'm doing $200. So I'm curious to see where this one lands. And that happens on this Friday. So even though things were looking good, we could actually look at my own portfolio. We could look at Riot. Riot was one of my biggest gainers today, up 8%. And now this one actually surpassed Mara. And I have to think it's because of Mara's dilution. They constantly sell their shares or buy back their shares. And now Riot's actually above Mara, which is pretty crazy to see, up $16. I'm actually green 78%, and I have a few option plays that are actually really red. I'm down 2,000, so I want to be transparent with that one, and I might actually do some hedging to the upside so I can actually get some bullish momentum. And overall, this was a pretty good day for myself. You can see Riot, I'm completely proud of where it's at. Might do some sort of option play with a debit spread. Other names, we saw Mara sort of go sideways. We saw Oscar slightly dip, and I do have a covered call, and I do have some cash secured puts locked up. I actually were able to buy back some of my puts or close my cash secured puts for profit pretty recently. I believe I could look down here. Maybe I didn't. Oh, no, this one I did. I had a realized profit of $42, up 89%. So I had more cash secured puts, ended up closing them. Riot, I actually have 5,000 locked up in cash secured puts and then one covered call. And then I have 100 shares that are uncovered. So if this thing runs, then I at least have that share appreciation. But even if it goes to $21, that's a pretty high jump. And I should be able to sell it at that price, or should be comfortable selling it at that price. SoFi, not really much movement. We saw early movement with the PPI report, but since then kind of went down. And I actually was pretty even, but my options were green. I'm up 127, and I do have a debit spread to help to the upside on a long leap. So I might do a similar play with Riot to sort of catch that upside. I actually started a new position into ASTS, not a big position, but I've been wanting to get into this. I know they were getting some backlash with SpaceX and Elon as a possible competitor, but I still think this is a strong company and a long-term play. And that's why I did 5 shares. Not a massive move, but I don't want to keep myself too thin. I want to keep cash on the sidelines, waiting for that volatility. And at least this gets me foot in the door. And if ASTS continues to decline, then I will continue to accumulate those shares. But as of now, don't plan to sell these. I'm simply just holding these for the long term. And similar situation with HIMS. We saw that initial jump to the upside up to $50 and then slowly went down, or pretty much even throughout the night. And I have 68 shares. I'm up 7, or it's about 7% in my portfolio, up 13%. If it dips, I'll continue to buy. If it rises, I might buy, but I am probably just going to hold because volatility is pretty low. Robinhood had its massive summit. A lot of major moves were talked about, and this one is sort of flat in the day. I have my daily buy, again, a small position. I plan to build this one pretty big if it declines or if we see some more volatility. But this software inflation is really interesting. We're going to see this Fed rate cut, and I'm curious to see if it will be sort of a sell the news event, or we will continue to go higher. You can see I'm really hedged to the downside with my covered calls, and I have one debit spread on puts for Riot because Riot doesn't really go past that $15 too often, even though we are seeing it right now. But for now, I have this one hedge to the downside, and then my covered calls are also a hedge. And I do have some to the upside by doing the IPOs, simply buying shares, doing debit spreads and long leaps. So I'm very curious to see how this Fed rate decision is going to play out. And that's why I'm just kind of sitting around. I'm not making major moves. I'm being very patient, being very selective with what I do. So that's it for today. We had a weaker wholesale inflation. We had the Oracle surge with strong AI momentum. We saw highs in the S&P and NASDAQ, but still some signals underneath. We saw IPO, Riot, one of my stocks, doing phenomenal. And if the Fed rate cuts happen in September, this could actually mean a continue higher, but I wouldn't get too caught up in euphoria. I'd watch the data, manage your plays, manage your options, and be ready. Until next time,